I want to welcome everybody to Iowa Postgame with Hawkeye great Kachine Alexander. We're going to get to an exciting recap of tonight's impressive Iowa women's basketball victory in the Xfinity Center out in College Park, Maryland. Before we get to the content this evening, though, I want to thank Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm. Get an insurance quote on whatever policy you need help with today at 515-256-6480. That's 515-256-6480. Brad and his small family-based team have been helping their clients since 1999, and they can offer products across the state of Iowa. Again, 3 fully licensed team members to help you navigate through the complex world that is insurance. Visit him online at bradvanmeter.com. That's www.bradvanmeter.com. And as always, it wouldn't be an Iowa post-game show without our good friends down at Iowa Smokehouse providing the best snacking supplies out there, whether you're talking about their meat sticks, their jerky, their salsas, barbecue sauces. It's all great. Tasting is believing. Use the code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com for 15% off your total order as you support the cause with our sponsors, including Iowa Smokehouse. You're, of course, supporting the post-game cause here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. So thank you to Iowa Smokehouse down in Albia. And without further ado, we present none other than Cash Money. Cash Money is in the house. Kachine,
hey, Corey.
Alexander. Kachine, good to see you.
Good to see you. I got one thing to say before we even start.
Okay.
In heaven, there is no beer. That's why we drink it here. Yes.
Kachine, I'm guessing that this is not a rip on you, but I'm guessing that. Well, no, you guys didn't, right? This is the first win in Iowa history at Maryland, right?
Yes. We didn't have Maryland when I played, so they weren't in the
When
conference.
did Maryland join the Big? Let's see, Maryland joined the Big Ten in 2012
20.
or
Did
13.
they? No, it was probably like 13 because it was a couple years after I left.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because I remember being like, now they want to add more teams. So yeah, but we didn't have Maryland. I wish.
That's a tough place to play. Have you ever been to the Xfinity
It
Center before?
is. I have not. But based off of all the games that I've watched us play there,
yeah,
I'm just very happy right now. I'm just happy.
So,
that's all.
We got a lot to cover. And
I know. Okay, let's get into it. I'm sorry.
This is not your first time on the show, Kachine. So
no, I'm sorry.
Normally I'm kind of leading the charge here, but I didn't give you a heads up on this, but I want to ask you, where do you want to start?
Ooh. You know what? I would like to start. We're gonna start with Caitlin Clark because that's just where we're gonna start. Okay. I think, and I text you this, Caitlin Clark had probably the best half of basketball I think I've seen her play in the first half.
I agree.
She was taking what the defense gave her. She was driving. She was dishing. She was taking open threes. It didn't seem like she was forcing much, if anything at all. She was passing, finding her teammates, etc. I thought she had like a complete first half. I think in the second half, she started kind of getting antsy and she started kind of getting desperate. And it kind of took off from there. She started taking those really long contested threes and not really taking what the defense gave her. And kudos to Brenda Freeze, because when she went into that zone, we looked like a deer in headlights. Like we had no idea what we was doing. We weren't prepared for it. We didn't know what was going on. They went on their run, and I was very proud because I think like a lot of people thought, oh my gosh, not again. You know, and they definitely, you could see the different, things they worked on in practice, and they were bent on making sure that it did not happen to them a second time. But that zone definitely gave us some problems.
What was it about the zone? What was it about the zone?
Honestly, I think they just didn't know what to do. It wasn't like it was hard to beat. I honestly just feel like they didn't think that they were going to go zone. Brenda doesn't play a lot of zone. That's not her thing. But they didn't have another choice. You know what I mean? So they had to do something. We were up big. They were getting ate up all over the place. So they didn't have a choice but to go zone. But when they did, our offense got really stagnant. We had no ball movement. Nobody was moving at all. And then that left Caitlin to just shoot these threes that were contested, and we weren't getting good looks. So I don't think it was anything particular. The zone wasn't fabulous. It just, we were not ready for it. Fair enough, because again, Brenda doesn't normally play zone.
Yeah. That's a well orchestrated counter move by her. And I'm sure at halftime, I'm guessing that decision had to have been made at halftime, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
There was no
100%.
Caitlin Clark in that first half.
No, there was nothing. And so they figured we're going to play zone. We're going to try to do as much as we can in there. And the rest of the counterparts kind of got lost. They were not really doing anything. And that slowed us down completely. We got real stagnant. We weren't getting good shots. They were getting back on defense, so we couldn't run. If I'm being honest, it was the right move from Maryland's part of you. So, yeah.
There were moments in this game, Kachine, where first of all, first quarter, let me just point out a couple of things that I noticed in that first quarter. First of all, why were Maryland fans booing Caitlin Clark the whole game? Did I miss something on that? Is there a history?
No, I think it's just the Caitlin Clark. You can't do anything on the court, so the only thing you can do is try to get with her mentally. There's nothing really you can do.
I'm fine with the mental game, but booing is just like, to me, bad sportsmanship. I don't know how else to. I know that sounds cliche.
They used to do that to Samantha Perhalis in Ohio State.
Now,
Honestly, that's
was
just
she from Ohio? Was she from Ohio?
no. She was a New Yorker, but she played at Ohio State. And she
Okay.
was kind of like Caitlin in the sense she had a chip on her shoulder, and she would let you know about it. And fans didn't like that, so whenever she would go into the building, she would they would boo her. But she'd take a little step further than Caitlin though. Like she had a tattoo on her finger that was shh. It was SHH. And so anytime she was the crowd with her tattoo. So she was just a tad bit different than Caitlin. But yeah, she was also
Well, let me
getting
just say
booed
this.
a lot.
I haven't been following this team around on the road, but I was at the game in
Yeah,
Hilton this year, and Iowa State fans didn't boo her. I guess I just don't understand. I don't quite understand why that's to me, it's not a good look for Maryland fans. Anyways, I
true.
won't dwell on that. You made the comment in the first quarter about how important Molly Davis was going to be to the game plan. It seemed like, and this was my observation, and really my observation every time Iowa faces a Brenda Freese coach team, is typically Maryland can bring it athletically. Typically, they're long enough to cause Iowa problems inside, and athletic enough to where they're able to kind of at times get in Iowa's guards' heads, if you will, or at least get them off their spots. So, I thought in the first few minutes, Caitlin was a little bit rattled. In fact, she missed a layup,
I agree.
missed a couple of threes. Now, I don't know what switched. Again, the booing was happening. And at that moment, you and I both said, hey, Molly Davis is going to be really important. And Molly stepped up. We can talk about that. But what was it? Is that just sometimes what happens on the road? It takes you a little bit to kind of get your feet under you?
It's different when you're warming up, right? The crowd isn't going crazy. Like there's nothing. But once the ball is tipped, that's a whole different ball game. And I felt that with Caitlin. I felt that with a couple of people. We were slipping all over the place. It was like we couldn't keep our balance. It was kind of a mess, right? And I'm like, okay, settle down. Because that does happen as a player. You kind of get caught up in the moment. So when Bluter called the timeout, I think it was 3-11, 3-11. I think that's when we were able to take a breath and then come back out and, start fighting at that point. But at the beginning, absolutely. And I knew within the first 4 minutes that Molly Davis was going to be the reason we won this game, in a sense. Like, she had to have a big game for us to be able to win that. And she did. So good for her.
Let me just say this. She has been phenomenal this Big Ten season. We've talked about how good Sydney Falter has been, but Molly has been so good and so reliable in the mid-range. We've talked about her unorthodox three-point shot and the release that's maybe not pristine, but she made some big threes tonight. And, I keep saying in spite of her size, that's I almost feel bad saying that because I don't want her to be defined by her size, but it is much more impressive where she gets to her spots and is able to score at this level. And I think it took her some time offensively at this level when she transferred to Central Michigan, and she's found her niche with the most ball dominant guard in basketball right now. And she's become really effective. I mean, you look at her numbers tonight. I don't have this officially, but my guess is, let me pull up her official stats. So for the night, Molly Davis finished with 17 points, 11 shot attempts. I could be wrong on that. That my guess is that's a career high, or excuse me, a season high at least. Maybe not a career high going back to her time at Central Michigan. I would guess that's a career high for her time at Iowa. I can't imagine a scenario where she's ever had more than 11 attempts. And I've talked about that in the past. Like, that's one thing that I would like to see her do is just try to get more shots up. And maybe that's not possible with how Iowa plays and the action with Caitlin. But man, I like to see her getting the ball in her hands more. And it seems like when necessary, when there needs to be pressure taken off Caitlin, or maybe she gets in foul trouble, I feel like there's a better option with the ball in her hands than maybe they had last year.
Yeah, I think that she's definitely, like I said earlier, a couple times before, a 1-2 punch for Caitlin, because I think she is the most efficient second scorer that we have, especially in the guard position. So I was very happy with her. And Corey, I feel like it's like something in the air because last time I was on here, I said that Sydney Falter needed to get more minutes. And today, Gabby was struggling like she has been. She's had her moments. And Sydney came in and gave us that big three in the corner, huge rebounds down the stretch. And that's what I'm saying about finishing the game, as far as that's concerned. Gabby's going to have to figure something out, though, in regards to that. She's going to have to figure something out. But kudos to Sydney, because she has come in clutch in quite a few moments this year in regards to the end of the game. And I think that she's gaining more confidence, and this is the right time to gain more confidence.
She battles down low defensively.
She does.
She battles on the glass. She seems to be anywhere a loose ball is. And, how important is that down the stretch in a game, especially like this, where, one or two possessions. And it was a game of runs as well. So, getting those extra possessions, a time or two in that second half, huge. I couldn't agree with you more. It's interesting. She made a mistake. I think it was it third quarter, maybe early fourth, where Iowa had responded after the big third quarter run by Maryland, and she fouled on a 25 feet away from the basket on a steal attempt. And I verbally said, that's a dumb foul. And then I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, when's the last time I've ever said that about Sydney Falter? Like she's such a smart player. She plays within herself, and we talk about that with several of these players. But it's just so rare to see her make a mistake, and yet she's always involved where the ball is. I'm just so impressed. I'm like you. I'm so impressed with her, and she's also proven to be a 3-point. You got nothing. I mean, no offense to Gabby Marshall, but offensively, she again gave you nothing tonight. She made one.
Yeah, and like the thing is, I have confidence, and hope that Gabby will get it together, because we are better when Gabby is playing well, of course, right? But at the end of the day, Coach Bluter is still realizing what is happening on the court. And in that moment, it was better to go with Sydney over Gabby, because Gabby was struggling. She was fouling. She was getting herself in really bad situations, if I'm being honest. And Sydney was somebody that was able to be tougher. We needed a little bit more strength underneath anyways, because Maryland was just driving like crazy. So we need a little bit more toughness under there. And that's something that Sydney gives us that Gabby doesn't. So I definitely am a fan of the switch that she made at the end. And, that's a game-by-game basis, and maybe next game Gabby's hitting and then things change. The rotation should be a game-by-game basis. It should not be, like you're going to stick with this exact lineup all the time, including the people that come off the bench. No, because you never know who's going to be playing well.
Did we see any minutes for sure? We didn't see a single minute for Sharon Goodman tonight. Not a single minute. So as
very interesting.
Kathy brings this up in the chat, it's clear that O'Grady has surpassed Goodman. And I will say this, I've been critical of Addison for what she isn't, but let me take a moment to compliment her for what she is and what she has given them, what she gave them tonight. To me, this was the first time, and maybe that's disingenuous on my part, but I think this is the first time since that open scrimmage, that exhibition game they played in Kinnick back in October, where it's appeared to me that Addison is really effectively running the court. Like she looks comfortable out in transition. Now, she sometimes has butterfingers. She sometimes doesn't finish around the rim. But, she was in the right place at the right time on a number of feeds tonight as well. And, not that Hannah Stolke's not still going to take the majority of the time at the 5, and Iowa go smaller when they can. But having a 5 that I think can run the floor as effectively as Addison is, and she's not really getting in foul trouble. On the night, Addison O'Grady had I don't have a final minutes number on her yet, but she had just one personal foul, added 7 rebounds along with 6 points. She's not going to score back to the basket, but I thought she was really good, and especially in that first half.
I agree. I think for a while we didn't really know who was going to get minutes, right, as far as that backup 5 goes. And I think that the last couple games, O'Grady has proven herself a little bit on the defensive end as well. Of course, like we said, she has her faults. But she's always been in the right spot. And that is something that we can attest for. So I'm curious to see how long that lasts. If this is like a final thing, or if this is like, So I'm very curious. But at the end of the day, I like what she's bringing right now, and I don't have any complaints about it. Because really, you can't play 3 of them. So you got. I mean, you could. You could. Let me not. You could. But right now, we're playing 2. So
best case scenario, you get away with just playing 1 or 2, right? One
yes.
or 2 true 5s. And Hannah playing the 5 at times. And then one other thing, and I know it was mentioned in the live chat. First quarter was weird, not only because of the slow start for Caitlin Clark, but I counted 6 misses at the rim for Iowa. 6 misses.
Let's not them turnovers too. My God,
they turned the ball over at a high rate, missed easy shots. That got cleaned up. Those things got cleaned up as the game went on.
It did.
But that's not how you want to start on a hostile environment on the road against a team you've struggled with traditionally.
No, I was scared. It was like the first quarter and our third quarter, we did not play well. Second and fourth, we kind of figured it out. But the Big Ten is a gauntlet, man. Like, you're gonna have these kind of games. Maryland is a tough place to play. I did not think we were gonna come out of there with a 20, 30-point win. I just didn't. Because Maryland is just that good in the sense at home. Now you've got the whole place sold out. Everybody's pumped up, and now everybody's heads are bigger. They become a lot tougher team to play. Now you take them and put them on Iowa's court, that's a little different, right? Like, I would expect a 20-point win, not on their home court. Absolutely not. So I was just happy with the fact that we fought through them coming back like that with the crowd behind them, and we withstood that, and then we kept punching. That I'm sure Lisa Luter and the staff is proud of, 100%. That will come in handy later in the March Madness, because it's going to be tight like that.
100%. And you and I made the comment. I think both of us made the comment. Was it 2 weeks ago it was a week ago against Ohio State, that experience would probably serve them well down the stretch.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we're
tonight.
Yeah. Besides Hannah, our starting 4 have probably played a lot of big time basketball. So started, etc., including Molly. So, I mean, our veteranship is great. And then you add in the pieces that you have. I'm just proud of how we came together today, regardless.
All right, let's. We've got a number of callers waiting on hold to chat.
Let's go.
For anybody that still questions the popularity of this sport right now, and specifically the popularity of Iowa basketball. So, for the record, Don Patterson's terrific. Gary Close is terrific. And Don and I, in some of the most heated moments after an Iowa football game, we've eclipsed the 1,000 concurrent viewership mark. All right.
Yeah.
We have 522 people watching right now for an Iowa women's basketball game in early February. So for anybody that still doubts the popularity of this sport and this team, you just can't do that.
I love it.
Anymore. And obviously the Caitlin Clark effect, but this team in general.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great. It's a great privilege to have a legend in Kachine Alexander here with us. So here's the thing. I'm not going to put up with any shenanigans tonight. If anybody tries to call in and be stupid, I'm going to boot you. Okay?
No shenanigans.
No shenanigans. All right. I'm going to here's the thing. We're going to add that to our merch line. We're going to have a shirt that says no shenanigans.
Yeah. No shenanigans.
Before we address that further, let's go to our first caller who's on hold. I think I know who this is. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander and our Iowa Smokehouse line. Who's on the line?
Hey, it's Chris from Wyoming.
Hey, Chris.
Whoa, what a game.
Chris!
Oh my gosh. I got to tell you, I thought we were going to win, but it was really tense to be on the couch watching this game. So, but what I wanted to say in terms of the post play, I heard Lisa Bluter addressing that, and she said that Ettinger had moved from 4 to number 3. So
move from number 4 as in the rotation? You're not saying she's.
Excuse me, in the post play. So she passed somebody, and I think it must be Goodman. Because we didn't see Goodman. We also didn't see Ediger, but she was talking about the problems at the post and, people really showing up to play. And she's looking at practice, and so that's what she said about that. So there's some, she was acknowledging, the post is a problem and that people aren't stepping up. But, so she said Ediger moved up. To number 3.
That seems
so
like
I thought you'd be interested.
Yeah. Is that tonight she said that? I'm just curious.
I saw I think it was, in the last 2 days.
Okay.
She's done a couple of interviews in the last couple of days. So
I'll have to look that up and get some context, because that seems like an odd thing to say in general, unless she was asked.
I probably specifically asked her about Edinger, because there's no way she just volunteered that. So somebody asked her about that.
I mean, I can't remember what the question was, but it had to do with the post players, and I think she's kind of frustrated. That's what I was getting out of it, and she just said, that she just wants to see somebody show up, So
that's fair. That makes sense.
And she said that Ediger had moved. Yeah, Ediger was number 3, not number 4 anymore. So,
okay. Well, I've liked what I've seen from AJ and the little amount of time we've seen her on the floor. I know a lot of it's been in garbage time, but it would be interesting to see her get some role. But like I say, we didn't see anybody after Addison tonight, and that tells me something, especially as we turn the corner into February.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would have been very unfair to put Ediger in a game like this. You know what I mean?
I agree.
But
they didn't need to, but they didn't need to. But here's what I'm saying, Chris, is at some point, remember, we've seen O'Grady and Goodman at different points this year. At some point, if Ediger is now the third 5, if you will. I know that Hannah's not a atypical 5 or a typical 5, but at some point they're going to play her. At some point she's going to play down the stretch of the season. So
right. So, but I do watch the post now more than I used to, and I can see progress down there. They are starting from a position of back to the basket and making a move, and that didn't used to happen. It's not, you don't expect them to do it every time, but at least they're working on that. So that makes me happy. But back to the beginning of the game, how many shots did we miss under the basket? Easy, it was like, oh my gosh, I was pulling my hair out.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. And John, there's a question in the chat here from John and Kachine. We might as well address it since Chris brought it up. How do you fix the number of missed bunnies? Is that just layup drills and just repetition? I mean, how else do you address it?
Here's my thing. You don't address it, technically speaking, if it hasn't become something that happens every other game. Right. So if it's something that's continually happening, then yeah. But sometimes, like we talked about with the Lights, it's a big game. It's Maryland. You haven't won there before. That's just normal. Now, if it's been happening for a while, now we start talking about drills, how we're going to finish with contact. We start doing stuff like that. If it's just kind of a one-off game, you might talk about it in the sense of, stat wise, but you wouldn't be doing extra drills in practice to fix it, because it's not that big of a deal in the sense of it really just happened this game. We haven't been missing bunnies consistently like that. It was just, like I said, you know how like when you go shopping and it's like sticker shock? that was kind of like what we were at when the Lights came on, and it was like, oh, then we called a timeout. And I'm pretty sure this was Lisa Bluter. All right, guys, let's breathe. Take a deep breath. All right, we're fine. Mm-hmm. That's typical Lisa Bluter right there, guaranteed. So it gave her time.
Can I just say this real quick? Not to interrupt you,
no, you're fine.
And I'm sure there are plenty of men out there that do a lot of shopping, but I'd never expected a sticker shock illustration on this show, but I think that's a wonderful example of you knowing the audience. So thank you for that, Kachine.
I am. So you're welcome. That's what I'm here for, right? So I think, like you said, I think they'll be okay. They're not going to do anything for it because it hasn't been like repetition. If this happened next game and the game after, okay, now we got something to talk about. But yeah, good observation though.
Well, I was just going to say that's very helpful because my perspective never changes. I'm sitting on my couch watching the television. So, I don't think about things like that.
No problem.
The other comment I had was about, I couldn't hear the booing, but, coming up to this game, there's so much hype about Caitlin. And I can imagine that, opposing teams get sick and tired of hearing about it. So that could be something behind it. And I've also seen some trolling of Caitlin on, I'm not on Facebook. Sorry, I can't follow you on Facebook, Corey, because I'm not on it anymore. But I saw some trolling of Caitlin, accusing her of being transsexual. That's why she's so good, because she's really a man. So that's the kind of stuff that's going on out there in social media. It's really bad. And so I just thought I'd throw that out there that, she's a great player and she's paying for it in the worst ways that humanly possible. You're seeing the worst of humanity in some ways about, who she is and what she is. Yeah. So that's what I had to say about that.
Well, appreciate the call, Chris. And I guess, yeah, anyways, I don't know what to say. Thank you for the call, Chris.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so last night I couldn't call in. They were talking about the greatest point guards. They were talking. Well, the call-in line wasn't open. The last one of the things they talked about was the greatest men's point guards in Iowa history, and nobody mentioned the great Ronnie Lester. So I just have to throw that out there. Now you can let me go.
Okay, for the record, I was not on during that segment because.
Oh, I was gonna say, who forgot him?
Ronnie would have been on my list. I'm gonna rip Kyle for that. So Kyle's gonna take the brunt of that. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Hawks. No, Ronnie Lester, BJ Armstrong.
I mean, honestly.
I got to ask Kyle here when we get him on. I think he's in the queue. We're gonna have to ask him. Who else was named? I can't. Who else was named?
Just so y'all know, though, this whole Caitlin Clark thing is going to continue to get worse the closer she gets to breaking this record. I'm just yeah. It just is what it is at this point.
Real quick, in response to Thomas, this is not accurate information. This is misinformation. They were booing her from the first possession of the game.
Facts.
So it had nothing to do with getting elbowed in the first half. They were booing her from the first, but that's why it took me off guard. Very first possession of the game. I just thought it was odd. And I thought, well, was there something said pregame or was there history? I'm not aware of a history. I've never liked Maryland fans, not on the men's side or the women's side. It seems, and it's a basketball school. I get it. But
yeah.
And I'm sure it's a tough place to play. So there's a reason why Iowa struggled to win there. I see a lot of comments in the chat regarding what you brought up earlier, Kachine. More minutes for Sydney Falter. And, the struggles right now, the up and down struggles, mostly down for Gabby Marshall. Yeah. She's had games here or there where she comes alive, but she's either on or she's off. Jesse brings that up in the chat. Gabby just simply is not reliable right now to hit an open three. And someone like Sydney Falter, Molly Davis especially, they have proven themselves to be reliable. Midwest Buckets, same thing. She does not seem – I even made the comment during the game tonight where it appears to me that Gabby – she passes up on a couple of open shots here and there, which make me think she's a little bit lacking in confidence. Maybe that's just her understanding.
She is. No, she is. Absolutely, 100%. It's not maybe. She's definitely lacking confidence right now.
Yeah.
Which any shooter would if they're shooting like she is. I wouldn't expect anything less for that. She's just got to get herself in the gym and get her confidence back because that's where it's going to come back. It's not going to come back in the game. So, yeah.
And Carly, same thing. Talking about Gabby. So, I go back to what Coach Close said the other night about Patrick McCaffrey. And I'm not saying they're the same player. They're not.
Yeah.
totally different teams, totally different positions. But I think the same thing applies to Patrick McCaffrey. I think their success down the stretch could largely be impacted if he starts playing well and actually making shots and shooting when he's open, and being able to at least be a consistent 9 to 10 point a game player. And I'd say the same thing about Gabby Marshall. If she can give you 3 to 4 threes a game, that takes this team from line B to line A potentially when you hit March. We saw that last year, even with the contributions from Sydney Afalter and from Kate Martin, because that's just another weapon you have out there in the perimeter. We'll see how it translates over. This is not the same Maryland team. Let me just make this clear too.
No.
Anybody's parade. This is not the same Maryland team we've seen in past seasons.
No, not at all.
So good win, but not the same team. Lemansky, appreciate the super chat. Hi, buddy. Let's go Cash. Thank you, Lemansky. Appreciate that. Let's go.
Lemansky, it's Cash with a K.
Cash with a K. Cash with a K. You can just use the cash emoji. That's good enough.
Oh, that's good enough.
Let's go to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. But before we do that, and thank you, Lemansky, for that. Be sure to check out RTI Threads. RTI Threads changing the NIL game for Iowa athletics. They are now partnered with Iowa Baseball and producing Iowa Baseball apparel. Check it out. I've got the RTI Threads shirt on right now. They're working with so much as it relates to NIL and the Iowa athletics cause. So check it out, rtithreads.com. And I've got the Zach Lutmer shirt I'll be breaking out here soon. And then, of course, Aiden Hall, Aaron Grays, all those guys, a part of the line. rtithreads.com, cd3lacesup.com. Let's go to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. We've got Kyle. So, Kyle, who on earth did you name before Ronnie Lester?
Okay, let's go through this first. So,
please redeem yourself, Kyle.
First of all, just to clear the air, I am 23 years old. I've been watching Iowa basketball for about probably 8 years or so. So that's about 20 years.
Let me guess.
So what are we doing? Who was you?
Oh, Jordan Bohannon.
No.
Hey, listen, Jordan Bohannon, Mike Gasell, and who would be number 3? Oh, Cully Payne. You're a younger kid.
The segment was about Tony Perkins and the great basketball that he's playing right now, and the comment was about the fact that this was the first time in a long time that Iowa had some real good tournament ready guards, because we're talking about the fact that a lot of times those games in March come down to great guard play and guards that control tempo and all that kind of stuff. So there were a couple guards. I think BJ was named and a couple of the other older guards, but we were not listing the best point guards in Iowa.
Oh, okay, Kyle. Because I was about to say you're fired.
I'm tripping.
Real quick, can I ask, Kachine, was Cully Payne a part of the Iowa men's basketball team when you were at Iowa? Or
yes.
Was that? He was. Okay.
He was.
Right. He's got to be one of the greats too, Kyle. Anyways, go ahead.
Hey, if it means I got to go back and do my research, I'll do my research. I got no problem with that. I got old Iowa basketball tape to watch, and I got Hayden Fry tape to watch.
There you go.
Nice.
So first of all, thank you for coming on, Kachine. I love your energy. It's great. We got a great blend of talent coming on here to join the radio voice himself, Corey Bratta. First of all, I think Maryland being 4-7 goes to show the depth and quality of this league. Like this Big Ten, I think the men are struggling on the fact that the league is not super deep this year. Because there's just not opportunities to pick up quality wins. It feels like every night when these girls go on the road, they're tested, and they have quality competition to go up against. And 18,000 people being there tonight is great because they richly deserve it. They're entertaining, the whole 9 yards. The thing that's just keeps becoming more and more apparent to me as we watch these games is like it's turning into a circus, the whole Caitlin Clark thing. And she deserves it. I mean, don't get me wrong, she deserves it. But the coverage is focused on her. The commentators are focused on her. We've got a Caitlin cam on TikTok for her. Social media is lighting up with her. It's crazy beyond anything I've seen in college basketball in a long time. It reminds me a lot of like a few years ago in 2016 when the Warriors were chasing 73 wins. Or LeBron chasing the scoring record, or even players chasing individual like MVPs or scoring titles in the NBA year over year. And sometimes it gets to the point where it's richly entertaining, but it takes away from team success and it takes the focus off of what they're trying to accomplish. So What do you think from a coaching perspective Lisa's trying to do to keep them kind of tunnel vision? And then also, what would you do as her teammate to kind of take the focus away? I mean, not that you want to take the focus away from Caitlin, but to keep somebody like Caitlin locked in. What do you think her teammates have to do for her?
Well, I don't think anybody has to keep Caitlin locked in. That's number one. I think she's going to keep herself locked in because she's tunnel vision on whatever her goals are, right? So I'm sure she has those in her head. I'm sure it's far out. As far as her teammates are concerned, it seems like, I don't know if anybody caught this. At the end of the game when, I think it's Kate Martin, she got the rebound and she was trying to pass to Caitlin and they fouled her. She went to the free throw line. Everybody with me? Did you notice she said sorry, Kate? Sorry to Caitlin. She was trying to get her the ball so she could shoot the free throws so she could get her extra points.
Get her to 40. And then she ended up smoking the layup too.
Yeah. You can see that her teammates are even like, here, please, like, take the ball. And I just want it to be over, if I'm being honest. Like, I want her to get it so we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Is it just real quick? Is it just about that though, Kachine? Because last year I heard about how amazing it is that she can rack up all these triple doubles. So now it's about the scoring record.
Correct.
Is it going to be? Are we just going to move the bar after that happens? Not that that's not a
because after she breaks this scoring record, right, the women's scoring record, now they're going to look to see if she can break the men's scoring record. So yeah, I'm understanding of where we are, right? Yeah. But it's more so of the sense of, this one is the one that matters, right? Because it's on the women's side. The men's one is just kind of like just to say you're the all-time of all time, right? But it's just so heavy right now because she's 2-3 games away probably? Yeah. Right? And probably so the way she's playing. Beginning of the season, it wasn't that big of a talk. It was just kind of like a thing, right? But as it progressed, it's gotten more and more and more and more out of hand. And just like you said, you brought up chasing the 73 wins by the Warriors. It was the same insanity. People started comparing the teams and it was just like, really? Can we just not just say this is great for them and leave it at that? No, because people want to talk. Yeah. So honestly speaking, I don't think they talk about it at all in the Iowa locker room. Yeah. As far as the coaches are concerned. I think they just focus on game to day, practice to practice, like they keep it normal. But Caitlin is going to be the one that's going to be having all of these interviews. I mean, they don't ask Coach Booter 24/7 about it. We don't see that. Caitlin, they ask all the time. So for her, she already knows what she's getting. She already knows what she's going for. So I think it's easy for her to stay locked in. Her teammates just want it for her, right? So they're trying to get it for her. And knowing the girls that's on the team and the characters that Coach Bluter likes to have around her, they're trying to do their best to get her whatever shot she needs to get wherever she needs to get to. Because at the end of the day, they want it for her as well. So I don't think it's that hard as much as we think. I would hope Caitlin is staying off of social media because that could be distracting. Yeah. So I would hope that's what she's doing because I think that would distract anybody. But if she's staying off, she's fine.
It feels like the characters on the team are perfect too. I mean, the fact that Kate Martin came back kind of as Caitlin's best friend on the team, like they just look like they have fun on the court together. They're not, I mean, Kate doesn't look like she plays thinking about much at all. And I love that because she just kind of plays loose and she does what needs to be done on the court. She's not really focused 100%. On any egos or any of that stuff. So I think it's good to have her and Gabby too. I think Gabby probably does the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kyle, for clearing that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. I need to go back and watch the tape.
Kyle tripping.
I know. What and Corey, you can chime in here too. What so we've seen a game with Ohio State where they got kind of pushed around inside a little bit. I thought that happened at times tonight, obviously not as badly.
Right.
How do you think they fare right here, right now against the big? I mean, we've seen South Carolina push tons of people around. We've seen LSU at times push people around. I don't know. There's probably other big teams. Kansas State too looks like they're playing great basketball. They could see Kansas State for a third time in the tournament. What? How do you think they fare against those teams right now, and how can they continue to prepare for those guys?
I'm gonna let Kachine take that one because I honestly don't have a ton of confidence if it comes to a rematch with South Carolina, even though they did it last year. I think that was I don't want to call it a fluke, but I don't know that game plan works 8 times out of
You
10. I
know,
think it probably works
not twice.
2 or 3 times out of 10, maybe.
It works if Caitlin gets 40.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and
She might
everybody's
get 60 for that
shots
game.
Yeah.
on the Gamecock roster. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that, Kachine?
I don't like it. I don't. I don't. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because 6'7", that's a whole different ball game we talking about.
Yeah. Cardoso's a problem.
And then Watson, she's also like, I don't like it. I've said this before. I think we're really too small when it comes to that. We are really going to have to be on our P's and Q's that day. Like, I'm going to be sweating bullets that day. I don't feel good. Let me say that. And when it comes to that, I think that is going to be, that is our weakness. We are small and we don't have a lot of toughness with our small. So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, they're really missing. They're missing Monica this year, especially with those. I mean, Monica's not missing 9 bunnies in the first half. I can tell you that much. She's making a lot more of those than we missed.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think we got to keep pushing, keep getting better, keep learning every game, and hopefully by that time we're playing our best basketball like we did last year. Going into the Big Ten tournament, and just ride that wave out.
Yeah. I mean, I like the characters they have on the team. I really like Sydney Falter. I really like Kate Martin, obviously. Molly Davis is just fun to watch. I think if they can, I mean, they just gotta try and force other teams to play our basketball. Because if they can force people into their style, then they got a shot against anybody. But if they try to get into this like fist fight type of game with some of the bigger teams, then
we're losing.
Yeah,
you can't get into fist fight. That's not our
game.
They
have the ultimate puncher's chance with Caitlin Clark. They got
true.
They got a mobile artillery unit out there on the court at all times. So
true.
Kyle, appreciate you clearing that up and appreciate you calling in, sir. And thank you for your work last night.
Yeah,
did a good job.
Problem. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
All right. So Trent says,
no more callers, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, we got more people that want to talk to you. We got about 600 people on right now.
So all-time fave.
Hey, it's after 11 o'clock Charlotte time. So
it is.
Let's see if you can keep this energy going as the night as we get later.
I'm a bottle full of energy. It never dies, Corey.
It's good.
It never dies.
Hey, I'm curious.
And there was a shout out. I have to do. Kelly, hi to your friends. Love that they're watching the show for the first time. Hi, guys. Go Hawks.
Beautiful. And Kachine, I do have to ask you this question. I was thinking about this earlier. What would you like if you could go back in time and somehow, or I don't know, be like 10 years, I don't want to say younger, because I'm not highlighting the fact that you're not. Anyway, start over. Imagine you were in college right now. How would you fit into the Iowa roster? How would you fit into this team right now? Like,
I don't want to toot my own horn, okay? But if I am on this team, we're probably winning a national championship. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because I'm the one that brings the toughness. If anybody remembers me as a player, I'm the one that brings the toughness. I'm getting the tough rebounds. I'm the one pushing people around down there. That is me wholeheartedly. And on top of that, I was a very good driver, and we don't have that as much this time. My whole goal, or I guess my whole role, let's say that, was to get in the paint, dish to my shooters, Jamie Prinny, Camille Walleen. That was me. And then I'd take mine when I got mine, obviously. So the fact that Caitlin Clark got everybody all the way out to the half court line, that just opened up the court so much for me. So yeah, they would have a problem. That's 100% certain. They would have a problem. And if anybody remembers me playing, I'm very curious in the comments how you think I would fit in. Uh-oh.
Maybe that's somebody calling right now to figure that out. Take a super chat here, the super sticker on the screen. Let's go to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Lomansky, Mr. Corey.
Lomansky. Good to see you.
Good to hear you. Good to see you or hear you. You talked about Cass, what her role would be on the team if she was playing this year. And I just, sometimes, Corey, you call me Caddy, and I am Caddy, but I'm going to call you out tonight. She's dominating this call-in show. She dominated on the court if she was playing. You better step up your game, Corey, because you're double dribbling it.
Hey, listen, I'm telling you this right now. If Kachine's gonna put me to shame as it relates to energy, and everybody's gonna fun, let it happen, Lemansky. I'm okay. I'm A-okay with that.
I've seen you step it up. I've seen you rant. I tell you what, you're about. She's doubled the score on you tonight, and I'm loving it. So I'm going to let other people talk, and I just want to celebrate that we got Cash doing it big time.
Well, Lemansky, appreciate your
Lemansky.
Thank you for the super chats as well.
And I tell the truth 99.9% of the time, so you just go to bed thinking about this tonight.
You are a man of truth.
Stop
Good night.
Appreciate it. All right. Yeah, how about the Jackson or the Gus Johnson gaffes tonight? We won't quote the one, but Chris Bryant brings up Hannah Schulke. Where did he get Hannah Schulke? And it was the whole second half. How does somebody with Fox not correct that? And she got her blank blocked. Like that was, I get it. Like it was a mistake. Okay, move on.
That was hilarious because we was all thinking the same thing. I burst out laughing.
You didn't have to. He didn't leave much to imagination. He kind of just.
It was hilarious.
That's what he said.
I replayed it many times. But the whole Schulke thing, I was like, what? Like, who is he talking about? I was so confused. And I was like, oh, wait. Okay. And then, but it's like, where'd you get that from? And then the lady hoops or lady, whatever that was they kept saying at halftime, that was irritating my soul. I'm like, it's women's basketball. Where are we getting ladies basketball from? Like, Mark Hill, get it together.
I have a question for you, Kachine.
Please.
Okay. I want to ask you about the term girls. And I'm going to follow up with this.
Okay.
And this is a legitimate question. Is it offensive to call Gabby Marshall a girl? Or like the girls are playing well tonight, or they need to get a different girl in the game tonight? Like, is that offensive? Because you don't say boy, like, right? You don't say like put Owen Freeman, put that boy in the game, like put that guy or that man in the game. Is that offensive? I'm just curious.
Here's the thing, right? When you saying that woman is playing, that sounds weird, right? Like
I agree.
I think that sounds weird. It's more so when you're talking about a multitude of people, like the whole team, is when it's like, why are you calling them that? Like that doesn't make sense. Girls are like high schoolers. That's why it's called girls basketball. Like that's why there's a definition there. So I don't know where this whole ladies thing came from. It's like who put I don't know. Lady Lions, Penn State, maybe. I don't know. They need to change that, but that's none of my business. But it's just I just don't. It doesn't even sound right coming out of his mouth. Literally, when he said it, it sounded like you were talking about some like what is it, North Liberty, summer basketball. It sounded so unprofessional. But I just, you know what? That's my gripe. I just feel like it is called women's basketball. Iowa women's basketball. Gonzaga women's basketball. Nowhere in there do we say ladies. So it's like it's 2024. Can we catch up with the times, please?
Yeah.
That's all. I'm not saying it's bad.
The only reason I asked the girls question is because I was listening to Caitlin Clark the other night, and she was talking about, she actually used that term. She said, we got a lot of girls who win and score. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm
normal in that scenario. Because you can't say women. That sounds funny. Like,
we got a lot of women that come in. Yeah, it
sounds weird. So I'm understanding of that. I don't think that's, but if we're talking about an entire team and an organization like Iowa women's basketball, that includes Lisa Bluter, that includes Jan Jensen, that includes, you get what I'm saying? Those are women. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Real quick, I just want to say we warned everybody about the shenanigans. So I've already had to ban a couple of people. The shenanigans are going to continue to be monitored. Right now, our moderator, Kyle, is keeping up on the chat. So I'm sorry if you get banned, but I'm not really sorry because you got warned. So Kyle says that any comments about Corey's athletic ability are going to be taken down immediately. Wow. How did that turn to
When did we talk about your athletic ability to have a conversation in the comments about? I'm confused.
Man, I don't know. The live chat gets away from me. And I'm glad we got Kyle in there today. So
hey, I mean,
yeah, I'd rather talk about my athleticism than what some of the other comments were about regarding Caitlin Clark. So, anyways, we'll move on. Let's go to our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. We've got Scott on hold. Scott, welcome.
Hello. I think good. I think there were a couple of comments saying you shouldn't be discussing athletic ability. I think Kyle was joking.
Some of the best coaches have never played.
Yeah.
So
who says I never? Hold on a second. Who says I never played? Like
I'm just saying. Like
I didn't play
some of
ball.
the best people to talk about minds of basketball are not the most athletic. Some of them ain't even played basketball before. So
yeah, absolutely.
Don't be talking about my guy Corey like that, y'all.
The guy who coaches the Miami Dolphins looks like he should be playing the esports world. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
I got enough athleticism for all of us, or I did.
McDaniels.
You missed our show on Wednesday because you were playing a volleyball tournament. So
this is true. I got to get it in somehow. I'm retired from basketball, so
absolutely.
What you got for us?
Well, I'm glad we won. So that was stressful. I mean, I was all relaxed. We were up by 18 points, and then in a matter of like 3 minutes, we're like. But anyway, I know I listen to the show quite often, and Corey, you always talk about we need a big girl that can play back to the basket. And you talk about like Hannah and whatnot like that. But you know what her skill set is rim to rim, running, and you know I don't think like this team is up tempo enough that I think that maybe we would like to have a girl with girth or a woman with girth, but I'm thinking we're up tempo enough.
I'm sorry, I literally had to deal with the first guy. I got past the first one where you said that Corey always says we need a big girl. I've never used that term big girl in there. He says we need a girl with girth. I don't know that I've ever said that either, but go on. Go ahead.
I knew where you was at. I was right here with you. It's all right.
But I just think like this team is fast enough and up tempo enough that there's a lot of teams where where you got the smaller players, but because they're quick enough, they can absolutely just wear down the other team. Case in point, I actually watched the LSU South Carolina game. I really didn't want to because I didn't want to help their ratings, but I wanted to see what they were like. And I just think that this team, South Carolina has that one woman who's 6'7", Cardoza, and then they have another one who's 6'5" that can dunk it. Mm-hmm. But when I was watching the game, I'm like, they didn't seem very fast, and they didn't have a lot of speed. I'm like, man, if they're a half-court team, and if we can get into that transition, I think we will just run them off the court.
Well, here's what hampers, not to rain on your parade, and because it is possible they won that game last year. But one of the big problems is how much South Carolina dominates the glass.
Yes,
it's pretty hard to get in transition when you're giving up tons of offensive rebounds.
But also, 100%. What scared me was Dawn Staley, and she specifically named Iowa as the reason that when Caitlin waved off that.
They got better at the 3-point.
I mean, their strategy was to leave those 3-point shooters open because they could not hit. Well, Coach Staley went into the transfer portal and got at least one woman who can shoot 55% from 3-point range. And apparently, as a team, they're shooting 45 to 50%. So I'm like, oh crap, they've got.
It's not the same team.
And height.
Here's what I've said it before, Scott. And there's nothing. I don't believe there's anything wrong with this statement, Kachine. I want feedback from you on this. I think if you're an Iowa fan, you can remain very hopeful about this team making it to another Final Four, while also saying, "Man, I hope that LSU gets a bad matchup somewhere before the third weekend, and man, I hope South Carolina somehow gets a bad matchup before the third weekend, whatever that looks like." Because I don't think Iowa matches up very well against either one of those teams.
Yeah, because even last year, it was like the Sweet 16. We were supposed to face Stanford, and then they actually got upset. Like, was it Stanford or another team that got upset?
It was Stanford. Stanford got upset by Ole Miss,
and then Ole
Miss lost to somebody. I can't remember who though.
There was a team that we beat. That team had beaten Stanford.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Colorado.
Was it Colorado? Because Colorado, I think they're okay. Could be.
So Ole Miss beat Stanford. Colorado ended up beating Ole Miss, and that's how we ended up with Colorado.
But I was thinking, oh man, because I thought that was where our journey was going to end with Stanford. Because they were a really good team last year, and then it all worked out for the best. But yeah, I mean that's the sucks about the one and done is I think we could beat. All it takes is just one bad night, and it goes. I guess it applies to all teams that we can lose. But earlier when Kyle was on, you guys were mentioning about the chemistry of the team, and I do want to notice. And again, I haven't watched too much of LSU. When I watched LSU in South Carolina play, that was the only time I watched them. Really, is I feel like we have a lot of complementary pieces to Caitlin Clark that, Kate Martin doesn't need, hey, I only have 15 points. I need 20, and so that works.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like LSU, they bring in all these stars, and I almost felt like there's almost friction between the players with Angel and Amish, Niche, and Haley, and some of when they were ahead of South Carolina at one point, they were celebrating. I almost felt it was forced, or they were trying to. But I just feel like there's
they just don't. They haven't figured out how to play yet together.
Yeah,
I'm not writing LSU off by any means. Yeah, I don't think anybody should.
It takes.
They've got way too much talent. Way too much talent.
Well, yeah, but
they just haven't figured it out. It's hard to go to that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And
thanks.
There was and then also in terms of another they talk about Caitlin a lot. One thing I hate about the media is even Gus Johnson said this. There's 20 times he kept mentioning Juju Watson.
Yeah.
And the 51 points that she scored.
Yeah.
And is Caitlin gonna score 52 points? And it was it got to the point it was so annoying. And even after Juju Watson's after that game, even the announcers that were interviewing her tried to throw shade on Caitlin. Caitlin who? And to Juju's credit, she immediately shut him off. But it's just there's already enough competition, and it feels like the media is trying to create even more division.
That's their job.
It's just, I don't know. It feels so unnecessary.
Yeah.
To drive, I know they want to drive ratings, but I feel like there's enough excitement, I think, that it's just unnecessary division, in my opinion. But
well, Scott, appreciate your phone call, sir, and I absolutely agree with you, and we'll probably chat with you. If not the next ladies game, or women's game. Excuse me, I just looked at ladies in the chat. We'll talk to you probably after the next game. So,
all right, cool.
Thank you, Scott. Real quick, so I want to address what he just brought up. Gus Johnson. I have a lot of respect for who Gus Johnson is as a person. What I know about him.
Yeah.
I think he's a legitimately good human being from everything I know and have heard about Gus Johnson. I love his energy. You talk about Kachine's energy. Gus brings the energy with whatever sport he's calling. With that being said, from a professional standpoint, he makes a ton of mistakes, and he is a promoter. That's what he is. He is a promoter. He brings up the 51 points. Like, why are we tracking 51 points for Caitlin? Because she's got 18 in the first half. Like, that's the conversation. She's got 18 points, and we're talking about 51. Who cares? I couldn't agree more with that statement. Gus Johnson's a promoter. I love his energy. But that's what sells right now. There's a reason why Fox has got this Caitlin cam. It's not just because she's amazing. It's also because it's profitable for Fox. And
Correct.
it advances the sports. It advances TV ratings. And it builds the brand. You've got State Farm sponsoring the Caitlin cam. You've got Fox has got a sponsor that is sponsoring the trek to the all-time scoring record. Did you see that, Kachine? Like, hey, I get it. I mean, I understand it, not to the extent that Fox is trying to market, but I'm just saying, we got to remember that a lot of this, almost all of it, is a business. So,
100%.
Those are my 2 cents here. Okay. A couple things here in the chat before we I want to go rogue here. D. Rolofson, yes, cool to have your Michigan wife cheering for the Hawks. It's always good to hear that some Big Ten fans are uniting.
Is that Michigan, or could it be the University of Minnesota?
I'm guessing that's Michigan. No offense to your home state team, but I'm guessing.
All right, I was going to get excited, but it's fine.
I'm pretty sure about that. Lemansky, thank you for the super chat, Lemansky. And DC Hawkeye, I live 4 miles from Maryland. Great atmosphere, nice fans. There were long lines to get into the game. Everyone, Iowa and Maryland fans were excited to see Caitlin. I don't doubt that at all. I saw pictures pregame. And it is incredible what she brings as it relates to attention and just fanfare across the country. And she'd do the same. I wonder what the response would be. And I know they've taken did they take a foreign trip this past summer? They probably did. And I'm not.
It was. Yeah, it was this summer. They went to yes, it was the summer.
Caitlin would be the type of player that if she comes back in 2024/5, this would be the type of team. It would be a great opportunity to schedule a game in a different country or in a different continent, an actual game that counts for the schedule. Kind of like we've seen college football play games over in the UK. We've seen the NBA play down in Mexico. I think that would be an excellent opportunity.
Interesting. That's an interesting take. That would be cool. First of that.
I don't know what the marketability of women's college basketball is internationally, but I definitely think what Caitlin brings is, we know it's special. So thank you, DC Hawkeye.
Overseas was higher than America was at one point. We probably caught up now.
Yeah. John wants to know why Hannah Stolke seems to fall down a lot. Shoes, knee injury, what? Well, she's not the only one who had some issues with balance tonight. You and I both commented that Caitlin Clark fell a couple times. I think Gabby fell. There were a lot of players on the floor tonight.
A lot. But not to our fault. Not like somebody was pushing them constantly. I just was like, what are we doing? We're just so off balance. Like, if somebody was to go like this, we was going to fall over. We was just off balance today. I don't know what was going on.
EA Monterey wants to know, are the Hawks the favorite to win the NCAA tournament?
No. Absolutely.
Are they the fan favorite? Absolutely. Like the fan.
Yes. Yes. But not the favorite. No, that would be before the season it was LSU. But now it's probably South Carolina.
Yeah. Tyler. Tyler wants to know if you'd recommend Taylor McCabe get some more minutes. We didn't see her see the floor at all tonight.
Listen, I'm not in practice, but if I had to use my brain right here, it is telling me that, yes, Taylor McCabe can shoot that thing 100%. Yes, every time she come in, she be shooting it. Beautiful. However, I don't think she can guard a GOAT. Like, she can't, everything in me just feels like she cannot guard a soul. Okay, because it doesn't translate. If you could shoot like she's able to shoot and you ain't getting no playing time, you can't guard your shadow. That's just how it feels. And unfortunately for her, that might take a little time, to get herself acclimated. She a little frail, so maybe she might need a little time to adjust. But she can't guard her shadow. I can tell you that right now. Because no way Lisa Bluter is voluntarily sitting a person that can shoot like she can. Nope. Can't prove me any other way.
Well, I'll tell you this, Kachine. Here's my 2 cents on that. Here's something I think you and I agree on. Gabby Marshall is not some elite defender.
No.
Now, you were an elite defender. I mean, that's just go back and look.
Yeah, you did your homework.
The accolades would indicate that. The reason I say that because Gabby Marshall, she gives good effort on the defensive end, and that helps make up for some of her inefficiencies, inadequacies on that end with athleticism, speed, etc. So I think in time, I think Taylor would do well to look how Gabby has found a way to see minutes in spite of, maybe poor shooting nights and just a deficiency in athleticism and size and other things, because she's known across the fan base as being a defensive player. But I think it's Gabby.
Oh,
Gabby is
you're right. She does.
Across the Iowa fan base.
She's known as a defensive person because she's the best one we got on the team. But she's not
good effort. She gives very good effort.
Yes, 100%. I'll give her that. It makes up for all the other stuff that she does.
You and I are 100%. I'm so glad you were comfortable saying that. I've been saying that for the last 2 years. She's not some great defender. We all like to talk about her like she is.
She busts her butt.
But she works really hard at it, and you got to give her credit for that, and it makes up for some
I
other
wish
things.
we could play Taylor McCabe. I really do, because that takes another person out of help, because you can't leave her at all. So, but it's just it's hard for Lisa to try to find time, especially when you've got a team like tonight who is a driving team. She gonna be getting ate up down there. So that's a tough one. I don't know. You're gonna have to play zone or something. If you could find, if a team is, for example, in the NCAA tournament, if you could find a team who all they got is a shooter and all she do is shoot the ball, okay, let's put Taylor in there and let her guard her. You know what I mean? But you got to find the right matchups. And right now, Taylor just doesn't have that defensive capability, and she's more of a liability than she is anything. Because if you can't stop anybody, well, what's the point?
Well, and there are times where Gabby's a liability on the court.
Agreed.
That's just it is what it is. But again, the tenacity, I think the confidence level she still has defensively, and it's all relative to this team that is not known for its defense, but will just score the heck out of you. It makes sense. Kelly, how many turnovers did Iowa end up with? 14 officially. 14 turnovers for Iowa to Maryland's 10. And so they were able to overcome 14 on the road. That's saying something. Steeler Chick appreciates Kachine being on here. I echo that. And Kelly, hi to your friends, Kelly, Jody, and Cindy. Thanks for being a part of the show and for being here maybe for the first time. Appreciate that. Be sure to tune in for our next show as well. Chris, nice gut check win tonight, surviving every run by Maryland. And yes, it was a game of runs. So absolutely. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Yes, sir. Hey, Corey.
Yes, you're on the air.
This is Randy Hanson. I'm watching your show here, and I'm going to tell you, probably 2 years ago, I was just one of these guys that I just never watched women's sports, to be honest. I watched a Caitlin Clark game, and I was hooked. And so I just started watching. And the one thing that a residual on this, all the eyes are on Caitlin, but as I'm watching these games, all of a sudden I'm looking at these other teams they're playing. Man, those other teams have some pretty talented people too. And it was just kind of eye-opening. But the one thing I think Miss Alexander just hit the nail on the head. The weakness I think that Iowa's going to have when we get into the playoffs is that toughness. We don't have a thug on our team, and I don't mean thug in a.
I know what you mean. Don't worry. You safe with me. I know what you mean. You know what? Replace thug with a dog. We don't have a dog on the team. There you go.
Well, I just remember Drew Tate in an interview said every
the Hawkeye, every football team just has to have that. He used the word thug. I'm just saying an enforcer. We don't have
Mhm.
that. That's the one. We're a very athletic team. And if we're going to beat South Carolina, let's say we match up, I think the only way we're going to beat them is we got to make them play our game. It's got to go up and down the court fast, and it's got to be I don't think they can match our overall athletic talent. I do think they're just a much tougher team, just, watching them. And so I thought you just hit the nail right on the head. That's going to be our Achilles heel
Mhm.
when we get into the playoffs. And believe me, I love Caitlin Clark. I love everything about her game, but she's not going to be that tough mentality on the team. I mean, if I have any kind of a thing that just kind of makes me shake my head is every time she hits the floor, I think they're going to have to life flight her out of the place the way she flops around. Instead of getting back up and getting somebody's face, we're not doing that. And so I think you hit the nail completely on the head. We've got everything else. We don't have that enforcer, that that tough person, that
Yeah.
can just go down, keep it straight. I mean, I don't know.
You know what I will say though? The closest person that we have, and I think it's going to gain with confidence, who potentially has that, is Sydney. Sydney has a little bit of dog in her, a little bit of fight, right? Like she's the one that's wrestling rebounds away from people and different things like that. I see that in her, but I kind of mentioned before, she needs to be not as nice, like she's a nice person. She just plays aggressive. You get what I'm saying? So I want her to change her mentality just a little bit and be able to be the full, complete dog, where now we going at it. Like it's time to battle. She doesn't have that just yet. She's just a nice, she's
well,
like
let me ask you this. If you were coaching Iowa and you're
Yeah.
going up against South Carolina tournaments, what's your game plan? How are you going to attack them?
I'm sorry, I think I missed that. How am I going to attack who?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. If you're coaching Iowa and you're going up against South Carolina, what's your game plan with the personnel we have today and the personnel they have?
So a couple of things, right? I don't think that we're going to be able to sit behind. Let's just say that. We're not going to be able to do that. So if anything, Hannah's going to have to front that. And we're going to have a lot of ball pressure on the guards. So to make that lob pass hard. Lob passes in general are a little bit difficult. But if they don't have any pressure whatsoever, we're screwed, right? But Bluter has got to change up her defense often. It can't just be letting them get comfortable in it. So we've got to go from zone. We've got to go from matchup. We've got to go to man. We've got to mix it up as much as possible to keep them off balance. If we stay in one thing too long, they're going to get comfortable. So I think we have to do that. In the zone, we have got to double the post. I don't care where it comes from. They're going to have to figure that out as far as where, based off of their, people on the perimeter, who would be the best person to come off of, right? But we would have to. We're going to have to create chaos as much as possible. Now that's where Gabby comes into play, right? We talk about Gabby all the time. She's got to be completely active. Everybody's got to have hands. So defensively, keeping them off balance, switching up our defenses. Posts are either going to have to be fronted or they're going to have a double coming from somewhere. And everybody's got to rotate out of that. So I would be working on in practice the rotation out of the double. We will be doing that until it's like second nature because it's going to happen. So defensively, that's how I would attack it, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, how do you think we stack up just athlete to athlete? Because I think the one thing we do have is a very highly athletic team. We've got good athletes.
We've got some good athletes, but you got to realize South Carolina's length and paired with their athleticism. I just think, I don't really think. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't comment on that. I can't comment on athleticism, Kachine.
I think it's a different kind of athleticism. In regards to that, I think that number one, they're bigger than us. That's across the board. So I think that's that. That in itself puts us in the hole. Now, I understand there was another caller who was talking about running and rebounding and all that other stuff. Yeah, we would have to run 100%. You're going to have to catch them off guard. You're going to have to tire Cardoza out. Like, but that also comes with boxing out. We've got to box out. We have to own the boards. If we don't own the boards, we can't run. We don't win the game. It's that simple. Because if you allow them to set up, it's going to be a lot tougher to score.
Well, that's that's just like I said, I was listening to the show a little earlier, and I just thought you had just nailed it. That one thing is we just don't have that enforcer. Yeah. I know we have somebody that could possibly, but we don't. I mean, if we had you on that team right now to go with everything we had, I think we'd be unstoppable. We just don't have that you in there right. That's just kind of where I'm seeing this thing. And I mean, I would love to go to the finals. And you watched that game against South Carolina last year. That was like one of those miracle on ice. Where did this thing come from? But Caitlin Clark just had that game of the ages in the biggest moments of the biggest. You're gonna have that again. But I don't know if you can catch lightning in the bottle twice like that with that team.
No. Yeah, that's kind of what Corey was saying.
There's also a decent chance that they don't face him until the national championship game, and it's as long as Iowa keeps winning, they're not going to face him until at least the Final Four. So,
right,
that's at least a positive.
Maybe Kansas State will be in South Carolina's bracket and knock them out for us.
There you go. Yeah, like I said, there could be. I guarantee you, there are.
LSU's not going to be a number 1 seed at this rate, so they're going to have to come up against somebody. Hopefully not us.
LSU's not going to be a number 1 seed, Randy, and LSU and South Carolina could end up being in the same section of the draw, and they may face each other in the
League. Corey, the NCAA gonna put them in our bracket. They're gonna be like the number 2 seed in our region. Now, I'm not like against that, right? Because that would mean we would play them in the Elite 8, right? Yeah, we'd play them in the Elite 8.
I'm against that.
I mean, I would be upset.
That's the most dangerous 2 seed in the history of college basketball.
100%. But
are you talking about LSU?
LSU, yes.
No, wait. The only way that would happen is if LSU is the overall 8 seed. Oh no, hold on. Let me see. 1 to 8 to 7, probably, or 6, depending how we end up. Yeah, because the top 2 seed would play the bottom 1 seed. So, yeah. I think that it depends, but Lord, right. So everybody, Hawkeye fans, from here on out, you need to become the best LSU cheerers they got. Okay, because we need them to be like a top 2 or a bottom 1. Okay, like because then we don't see them. So go ahead and cheer on LSU this one time.
Well, okay, saying that, then I'm going to say the television networks, everything's driven around money. Everybody wants to see the Hawkeyes get into the Final Four.
True.
Flat out. I mean, just from a revenue standpoint. But let me ask you something, Miss Alexander. Here's my other question. Last year when we played LSU for the championship, I'm not saying we would have won if the officiating was any better, because I thought the officiating was horrible for both teams. We didn't get to see LSU. They had to alter their game plan because they were calling a foul every 5 seconds. We clearly had to get out of our game plan because everybody's in foul trouble. And the refs just took a great game away from us. I don't know. I feel better about playing LSU than I do South Carolina.
Oh, 100%. If I have to play the 2, I am LSU down. Okay, 100%. If it wasn't for that one shooter in LSU, we probably would have won the championship. Who ain't shot a 3 or made a 3 in God knows how long. You know what? Kudos to her because she came ready to play, and I'll take it. But I'll take LSU all day over South Carolina. I don't know about y'all, but I feel better about that than South Carolina.
South Carolina is the only team that I would just say, man, that's going to be a tough. I just think we can beat anybody else. I'm not saying we would. I just think we match up better.
Yeah, I think, I like our shot.
South Carolina. And plus Don Staley, he just seems to have that toughness. I mean, that's just a tough coach with a tough team.
Agreed.
I really admire the way they play.
Well, Randy,
Yeah.
appreciate your phone call, sir, and we'll just hope for the best on all fronts, and hopefully Iowa keeps winning and the seeds work out, and we'll be able to. If we have this problem, it'll be in the Final Four or national title game.
So great show, and keep Miss Alexander on here if we get good insight this way.
Thank you, Randy.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate Randy's phone call, and D. Rollison with the super chat.
I like Randy. Yeah.
Here for the Big Ten tournament at the Hawk's Nest at
Minnesota. Yes.
Are you going to that?
That was right.
You going to the Big Ten tournament this year?
You know what? I didn't think about that, but now I might have to.
It's next
I
month.
keep forgetting that it's in Minnesota. Okay, here's the thing. Big Ten has always been in Indianapolis for me.
I know.
And now all of a sudden they done switched it up. So, hell, I might have to think about that now, Corey.
Lemansky, thank you for the super chat as well. Yes, I can rant about Gus. I have a lot of respect for Gus Johnson, but thank you, Lemansky. Appreciate that. Brandon, this is the chat of the night. Corey's Brian Ferentz points per game tracker trumps the Fox Caitlin Clark career points tracker. Yes, the Brian Ferentz points per game tracker absolutely.
It's so stupid. Anyway,
blew all those away.
And so disrespectful at that. But go ahead.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate the comment. We had fun with it, Kachine. So as dumb as it was, we had fun with it. So for anybody that doesn't know, Kachine is an Iowa football fan, so she follows the sport, so she knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I sure do.
It's all behind us. John wants
to
know.
But it wasn't just you though, Corey. It was all over. Like
no, it had to be
everywhere.
It had to be talked about because the university.
Why would they do? You know what? We're talking about women's basketball. Moving on. Let's go because I can get into that all day.
We can talk about that off the air. John wants to know: is Iowa coached to take charges? Good question.
No.
Is that just in general? Like, is that just a Lisa Bluter thing, or is that college basketball players in general are not coached to take charges? Or do you know?
I don't think anybody's coached to take charges. Let me just say that. You either do or you don't. I was a charge taker. I just enjoy it. There's certain people that just like to take charge. You have to like to take charges. It's not a thing where you're putting your body on the line just to do it in the sense of that. So anybody that takes charges is because they actually enjoy doing it, not because they're being coached to do it.
It seems to be one of those things that either you have a knack for it.
Correct. 100%.
You know, Kelly wants to know, is Molly Davis the RTI Threads player of the game? She is not. I had a hard time getting past Caitlin Clark's first half because I totally agree with what Kachine said earlier. She was just absolutely phenomenal in that first half, and she made some big plays in the second half. And really, every time there was a run made, yes, Molly Davis hit a big three late, but every time a run was made, I'm sitting there watching the game saying they need to get the ball into Caitlin Clark's hands, not because I want her to jack up a 30-footer, but because this offense is just so much better when the ball goes through Caitlin Clark. And good things happen with the ball in her hands. And I know that's kind of like, well, of course, Corey, you're stating the obvious, it's Caitlin Clark. But there are times where in the past where I'm like, please don't jack up a three. But tonight, every time Maryland made a push, I'm like, okay, got to get the ball to Caitlin this possession and let things work through her. It just seemed like every time they did, they made a concerted effort. She made the right plays. Like you said earlier, she took what the defense gave her in the first half. I thought people moved without the ball really well down the stretch.
Yeah, they did.
Had a couple of really nice feeds to Kate Martin. Those two are simpatico. So anyways, Caitlin Clark, our RTI Threads player of the game, she was phenomenal. 38 points, 12 assists, and 6 rebounds for the greatest player, I think, in the history of the sport. Okay, Kachine, I've kept you up an hour and a half. We've got 2 more people that want a word. Do you have time for 2 more?
Come on. Y'all got me until you don't.
She does have to work, I'm assuming. You have to work tomorrow, right, Kachine? We're not going to.
It's Sunday. Absolutely not.
It's Sunday tomorrow. Okay, well.
Yeah,
all the days run together during postgame season. So let's go to our next caller, Iowa Smokehouse caller. We got DW online. DW, welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, so I have a question for you, Kachine. You mentioned that must be something going on in practice with McCabe not hitting the floor.
Mm-hmm.
She is more confident shooting the three. Gabby,
100%.
I mean, the last few games prior to this game, it seemed like Gabby was coming on where she hit, against Northwestern, she had three threes. Ohio State, she had 4 threes. The game before that, I think she had 4 where her confidence was there. But tonight, her confidence, when she missed a couple, looks like where she had open shots, she was passing it off. So my question is this: if she's not providing us the defense that everybody thinks she is providing us, is Bluter keeping Gabby in there because she's a 5th-year senior, she's got the experience? And could that be the reason why McCabe's not seeing more minutes? Because she is a sniper. She hits them a little more consistently when she is in. I don't know. I just had, that was kind of a thought when you guys were talking about that. Could it be just the coach having more confidence in the player, even though the player doesn't have confidence?
100%. So I've said this before a couple times on here in regards to majority of coaches are always going to go with their veterans because they trust them more in big games, big situations. They're hoping they will get out of the rut, right? Eventually, because you've seen them get out of it. Gabby was in the same kind of scenario last year. And then she kind of took off right before the Big Ten tournament and just rolled through. So, yeah, that's exactly why. But I do think we are starting to see a little bit of a shift because she's starting to take some of those minutes away. And she's giving them to Sydney Falter right now.
Which is justifiable, obviously, because Sydney is playing out of her mind.
For sure.
By the way, speaking of Sydney, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Corey, the whatever Threads player of the game should go to Sydney Falter, because without her rebounds in the last minute, we lose. I think that game, we were real close to losing that game.
Real quick, hold on a second.
Corey, remember, impact player of the game. We need to start it.
RTI. Say it with me, DW. RTI.
RTI. Got it.
RTI Threads play. Well, here's the deal. I understand what you're saying. I'm not going to argue with you, but Sydney Falter was phenomenal.
She was.
Caitlin Clark.
I understand.
Caitlin Clark scored 38, 12, and 6.
But that's a normal night for Caitlin. I mean, she should always be the RTI player.
Well, you're right. She could be.
I mean, that's a normal night.
You know what, though?
So
I will say this, though. The reason why I'm on, because I was not on board with Caitlin the other game. I forgot what it was. Ohio State? Yeah. I was not on board with that. Or wherever it was. I can't remember who it was right now. But today, I'm only on board with Caitlin because, one, her efficiency in the first half. And in the second half, when we needed a big bucket, she provided. Whether it was her shooting or her passing to Kate Martin on a cut or whatever the case might be, she was the result of the bucket that we needed. Hence why I'm okay with her being player of the game because of that. Not so much her points and all the other stuff because, yes, that is a normal Caitlin night, right? Crazy to say that, mind you. That's how awesome she is. But it was more so that what she provided in that moment. Sydney took off like 2 minutes just by getting offensive rebounds. 100%. I'm right there with you.
She also hit that huge 3 for us when the game was tied.
Who passed it to her?
Caitlin, but Caitlin gets pretty much all the assists. But Caitlin gets pretty much all the assists. I mean, but Caitlin also missed a wide open layup to put her at 40 points.
What was she doing?
I don't know what she was doing. I mean, it was wide open.
What was she doing?
But
I know she got to be laughing and shaking her head. Because what?
So
you can hit a 35-footer, but you can't hit a wide open layup? Like, girl, okay.
That and missed free throws just kill me. I mean, the bunnies we missed and the missed free throws, because that's what's going to win games is free throws down the stretch.
For the record, Caitlin Clark was 5 of 5 from the free throw line.
Okay, I understand, but I'm talking a bit. I mean, other players on the team.
Sure.
When they miss, anytime a player misses a free throw, it drives me nuts because that's
they are free.
Hannah Stolke, or in the words of Gus Johnson, Hannah Schulke, is not a good free throw shooter, And that's one thing she really needs to improve upon.
Getting better. She's getting better. She's bricking like she was last year, y'all. Come on.
Yeah. Another idea for you, Kachine, because from the last caller saying, how would you coach against South Carolina?
Yeah.
Now, I know that Hannah hasn't taken a lot of three-pointers this year. She's I think she's like 4 of 5, right?
Yeah.
So she can hit them. I know, Corey, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about, okay, you have your 4 of 5 and your percentage is great, but how many attempts? I understand we had that conversation a few weeks ago on that. But if we can get Hannah, if I'm playing South Carolina prior to that game, and I'm like, Hannah, you got to take those threes. You got to shoot threes in practice, because she can start hitting those threes and pulling out that 6'9", 6'7" player from the basket. That's going to open up our cuts and drives. So that would be one way I would coach it too, is pulling their big out, because they got to guard our shooting big, even though they're not as big. But I mean, to guard them at least, to open up that lane. And
well,
open up the
one
paint.
thing you can do, real quick, let me just say this: the one thing you can do in general, I think you're right about Hannah, but in general, you can find mismatches, right, Kachine, as it relates to playing a lineup with Stolke at the 5 and then 4 smaller players. You may have mismatches on the other end, but on offense, you should be able to spread a tall South Carolina lineup out, correct?
Yeah, you're going to be able to do that anyways, because if we remember last year, what was working? It was our pick and roll with Monica, right? We can still do the same exact thing with Hannah. She's more athletic. She's more agile than Monica was. They still have to guard Caitlin off the ball screen. So regardless, that post got to come out. Like, you ain't got no choice if Hannah is setting the ball screen. So with that being, we are still able to get that pick and roll that we did before, with or without Monica. Actually speaking, Hannah is probably going to have a better go at it, because she's a lot more agile, more quicker. She's able to kind of maneuver a little bit more down there. So I don't think we'll have a problem spreading them out, because we have a woman named Caitlin Clark on our team, and she spreads everybody out. So with that being said, I don't think we have that issue. Our issue is going to be on the defensive end and being able to hit shots. If we cannot hit shots, we are going to be in trouble, because we're not going to be able to drive to the basket at will with 6'7" down there. That's just not happening. So if we're able to hit shots, I think we'll be in a good place.
Right. And rebounding is going to be getting defensive rebounds is going to be huge, because
100%.
They can jack up a 3 and their center gets the rebound and puts it back in. I mean, that's going to be huge. So we're going to have to, push her out of the paint somehow. But,
correct.
I mean, those are probably my 2 observations from tonight's conversation. But the observation from the game tonight, when Maryland went to that zone, our players were statues. Our offense was statue. Nobody was cutting. We weren't swinging the ball, because that's how you're going to beat a zone, is by swinging the ball around and having people cut and get into the middle. And that was not, we were easy to guard.
Yeah. That was our struggle. That's what let them back in the game. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right. Please sign up for a free trial of Aura, aura.com/Hawkeyes. Another way you can support the show. Be sure to follow on social media. And Kachine, I don't plug your social media enough, but you're at Kachine Alexis, correct?
I am. Yeah. Did we get everybody?
Followers, but
did we get everybody? Did we get all the callers?
No. No, we have not. But we can do that right now. Let's go to our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. But before we do that, yes, I want to make sure we know this. RTI Threads. See it on the shirt, rtithreads.com and cd3lacesup.com. We need to get a Kachine Alexander.
I was about to say, let me get a shirt. Hold on. Yeah.
Money, man.
RTI Threads.
Too bad NIL was not around back when you were playing.
Oh my God, Corey, I don't want to go into this, okay? Because
out there.
Do you not understand?
You know what?
You know what? I get so irritated just thinking about it, because with my personality and everybody loved me in Iowa, that would be so great. But it's okay. You know what? It's there for when my daughter, if she decides to play sports, it's there when she does it. So, but I can live with that.
let's go to our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. James, welcome.
How you doing?
Good. How are
Hey,
you?
Jane.
I'm good. First off, one thing I kind of was curious about was they went boxing one today. I'm kind of surprised we don't see that from other teams against us.
You said what? I'm sorry.
The boxing one that they ran, I said I'm kind of surprised we don't see it against us more often.
The boxing one?
Yeah. Because they ran a boxing one. I was kind of surprised we don't see it more often, where it's like, I don't know if some people have confidence in Gabby hitting threes or Sydney hitting threes or Kate
I
hitting
think
threes as
they're
much.
nervous because of Caitlin's passing abilities.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, if you're that
That's
worried about Caitlin, though, I wouldn't be
no,
worried
I'm
about
saying
the
I
other
think
people's
that's
game.
why they don't play boxing one, because even if you boxing one Caitlin, she's still gonna get open regardless, right? There's many ways to get Caitlin open and get her the ball.
Yeah.
And on top of that, she has the ball in her hands, bringing the ball up the court. So that's the easiest way to start her with the ball. Secondly, when you're in a box, you lose people. And Kate Martin is very good at finding seams. And Caitlin loves finding her. So I think a lot of people get nervous with the whole boxing one simply because of that. It allows people to roam a little bit more, and Caitlin is very good at finding the open player. So I think that's why they don't, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes I feel, I'm not saying I don't disagree. I agree with you. That's the way it is. But I feel like some people at some point are going to be like, we just have to let the other people try to kill us because they don't shoot as well from three.
That's what
So
I would. I wouldn't even do a boxing one. I would just tell whoever the hell guards Caitlin, face her like this.
right.
You need to
You
know
could
what
just
she
do-
had for breakfast.
Just do, yeah, you could just face guard him the whole time. Because, like, obviously, you face guard her, she's still going to get her shots off, but you're at least contesting everything and making it harder on her. And then you have to trust
So
everybody else.
if I'm guarding Caitlin, I'm going to try to put this in the best way possible. I would be on top of Caitlin. So the entire time I am on top of Caitlin. So that means the only way she's going to get the ball is if they lob it over the top. There's no other way. Caitlin wants the ball in the 3-point line. That is what she wants. Period. She's going to be able to see the ball, etc. So I'm just going to stand on front of Caitlin and I'm going to face the baseline. I don't care what's happening. You're not going this direction. You're going to have to go that way. And again, you're not blind as a defender, right? Like, I'm not just like this. I'm obviously looking at the ball, etc., but I'm in front of her because that is a look we have not seen before. And on top of that, shoot, am I giving people to run around? I shouldn't be saying this because now people might actually do it.
But you have to have somebody who can do that too, though. Not every team has somebody who can do that.
This is true. This is true. I would stand in front of Caitlin. I would let everybody else play one-on-one just like they normally do. As far as like regular basketball, you're still in help side if you're away from the ball, etc. But Caitlin is not touching the ball. I'm going to stand in front of you. The only way you're going to get it is if you're cutting to the basket. Because if you guys haven't noticed, besides Molly Davis, who else is a great passer?
Nobody.
So who going to get her the ball?
Right.
If I'm facing her like that, because that's really like a backdoor cut. That's a hard pass to make. So, yes, that's how I would play Caitlin.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I know at some point, like, it does scare me at some point because, like, someone can try to take her away, and I know they're not going to be able to, but, like, if you shut her down a little bit in a quarter or something, you maybe might get a run that might get you the game or something. You know, where it's like that. Like, you can shut her down one quarter, and you know, if you can trust everybody else and then maybe give a chance for you to win the game more than you should. I think that's kind of what happened today in the second half, was they had more of a chance to win because they kind of shut her down a little bit, or she was taking shots she shouldn't have took. And it kind of shows you that, like, oh, if she's doing that kind of stuff, we can be beatable by pretty much anybody just because you have to rely on her so much sometimes.
Yeah. And again, I don't think anybody can play the same defense against Caitlin Clark the whole game. You can't.
Yeah.
You got to mix it up. Triangle and two, boxing one, the defense that I said, man's, you got to mix it up. And nobody's done that. And I'm not understanding why. But again, everybody just.
I'm not complaining either, but I was just saying I thought it was a little weird that, like you said, people don't mix it up as much and throw it at, you know, kind of be weird. But I feel like it was a good game. And I agree with the last caller in retrospect of sometimes I don't feel like yes, Caitlin puts up all those numbers, but sometimes I do feel like there's other players who could be player of the game just because of their impact, if that makes sense. Like Molly's impact. I'm not saying she was player of the game. I agree that Caitlin was player of the game, but I'm saying Molly's impact sometimes makes her a chance at getting player of the game just because she makes that big impact. And especially today, she made a big impact hitting all the shots.
Corey, who I need to talk to at RTI Threads to get an impact player of the game? Who I need to talk to?
I'll tell you what I'll do. Here's what I'll start doing. I'll start putting out a poll like halfway through the game, and the people can vote on who's the player of the game.
No, I wasn't saying I disagreed. I agree with Kevin Clark, but I'm just saying like sometimes stats don't always
That
mean you're
wasn't it.
a player of the game. That's my only point. Is like sometimes it doesn't always mean that.
I agree.
Fine.
James, you know I love you. Appreciate you being
Yep,
here.
I'll let Kachine get to bed because it's Sunday in Charlotte, so I'll let her get to
I'm
bed.
trying to get everybody in before.
Thank you, James. Okay, Doc P in the let's see, Doc P here in the chat, the text line. He says, do they have a coach that's specific to defense? That's a good question. Is there one of the assistants that
It
focuses on
used
that?
to be Coach Fitz, Jenny
Okay.
Fitzgerald. Sorry, that's who it used to be. Assuming it probably still is. I know she took kind of like a little step back at one point, so I know she's back this year as a coach because they added more coaches. But yeah, that's what it used to be.
Be sure you check your phone, Kachine. Let's go to our last caller, I believe, of the night. Let's go to our last Iowa Smokehouse caller of the night, David.
How's it going?
David, what's up, man? How are you?
Missed you, Corey.
Yeah, I know you did.
Oh, I have. Honestly, I mean, you have, as somebody said earlier, a voice for radio, and without question, that is true. Also, you're amazing. You should be on TV. I mean, you have the beauty and the voice and the knowledge. Why aren't you sitting ringside, if you will?
It's very nice that you said that, David, but don't you have something nice to say to Kachine? Anyways, it's my poor attempt at
smooth. That
was good.
I absolutely gotta agree. So yeah, I would say just a few things. One, your previous, talk show that you were half in, beautiful. It was Dance Marathon, and coming from the University of Iowa and knowing the University of Iowa, like downtown when University of Iowa happens and Dance Marathon's there's no one downtown. So I'm not surprised there was no one at the stadium. I mean, that's 24 hours, man. It's a commitment.
But let's just establish, though, David, nobody's going to these.
I know what your argument is, but I'm saying that wasn't the right time to make the argument. That's the only thing I'm saying.
I've been saying it all year. I've been saying it all year. Nobody supports the men in general.
Right.
Supporting the
right.
men.
That game would not be a fair argument.
The student body is completely MIA, whether you're talking the dance marathon, the Bugatti Veyron marathon, the swimming pool marathon. I don't care what marathon.
The dance marathon is a really, really great thing.
Damn.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm just saying that every time, this is my only issue. It's not you, David, but every time people, I know you're not trying to defend I don't know who people are trying to defend when they bring up reasons for the Iowa men's basketball attendance issues, but they'll bring up stuff like,
is it really that bad?
Yes. I was there last night. You want to see pictures?
Sorry.
You want to see pictures of it? I'll send you there's nobody in
last night is not a fair example. Last night would be the worst example that you could get.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was about 9,500 people there for the men's game. And if maybe that's part of that is the dance marathon. Okay. Last night, but in general, people complain about, it's too early of a tip, or if it's 6 o'clock, it's too early. If it's 8 o'clock, it's too late. They don't like it on Fridays because it interferes with high school basketball. They don't like the early Sunday morning game.
That sounds like excuses to me, because if Caitlin Clark was playing on Friday, we'd be there.
That's all it is. So, anyways, and I'm not saying that it's not something that's not on Fran, and I've given him some blame. I think there's blame that goes to the administration, and I think they're making changes. They're in the process now with Beth Getz at the helm and making some adjustments, obviously. So anyways,
Corey, they'll figure it out. It's our time now. Okay, we done sat in the back seat for too long. It's our time now. They can wait. They'll be back.
That is the energy that they need.
Yeah, they'll be back.
Like as the announcers. And here's something funny. So I don't know if it was brought up. Maybe it was. I hope it was. It definitely was done. Did anybody catch what was said by the male announcer? And I don't know his name, but man, he was in that game. And yes, he was obviously doing the Caitlin Clark, like loving life. But did anybody catch what he said in the first quarter?
Yes.
I have it queued up more or less.
Yes.
But like right around.
Yes, you don't need to repeat it, David. Yes.
We
love it. Love it. And you know what? That's when you know that announcer is in the game.
In the game. That's how I was like, he is really in the game right now. He is not an announcer. It's all right.
I mean, that is some beautiful stuff right there. Like, he's like, oh, she just, right. And that was Caitlin that did it, which is pretty sweet. It was. But I saw that, I'm like, did I hear that right? At the time, I didn't have the recording because it records, but I can't read it. It's neither here nor there. But I had my buddy in Texas who he heard it, and I was like, it was right around that time frame. And I'm like, oh, it actually happened. I mean, that's pretty cool. All I'm saying is that's pretty cool. National primetime Fox TV, homeboy, and for some reason we don't get a lot of guys that actually talk about women's basketball. If you watch a lot of them, usually it's women. Something I think, I don't know. I like that they're getting more prime time, and I love that guy was just so engaged. Now, yes, the counting of the score. Caitlin doesn't care. She cares about some things, but she doesn't care about what Juju Watson did yesterday. Right. She doesn't.
Agreed.
And that's all he wanted to keep bringing up. Oh, Juju Watson scored 52 points yesterday. Yeah, Caitlin cares about that. Like, come on. Like, get out of here. And then as it pertains to South Carolina, I think we can beat them again. LSU should have beat them. Realistically, if you watch that game, they should have beat them. They just kind of did what we did against Ohio State down the stretch. It was a bad situation, but they were in line to win that game, and they failed to do so. We do that sometimes too.
Yeah.
But when I say, like, girl, you got it going on as an announcer, you know what I'm saying? That's where you can use the girl right. Like, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, you can use it that way. It don't sound right any other way. That way.
But you should announce for girls basketball, man. I mean,
I've heard that a couple times since I've started this here podcast with Corey. I don't know. It's never really been something on my mind, if I'm being honest. I just love basketball.
Really good in-depthness. You bring really good in-depthness to the game, like how you dissect certain scenarios.
Yeah.
Plus, you have character, so you could be a character guy. I mean, well, girl, or woman.
Gal, if you want to be,
gal. Should I say gal?
David, I appreciate your contributions to the show, sir. I really do.
Hey, I appreciate what you do for Iowa sports in general.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, Corey.
Corey, in 10 years, I think that your platform will be far exceeding where it is right now.
10 years?
10 years, you are going to be at the top, bro.
Okay.
I actually believe that.
I don't think it's going to take that long. But
no, maybe not, but I'm guaranteed. I'm a better by nature. If anybody wants to look up BetStamp, they can do and then look up Hawks Pone. It's all one word, PWN. You can see what my betting record is. But at the end of the day, I'm a better, and I know that man in 10 years he's going to be at the top.
Well, David,
stamp it.
I appreciate it, sir, and we will talk to you next time, whenever that may be.
Have a great night.
You as well. Cheers on Iowa sports for sure.
Oh,
and go Hawks.
There you go, David.
Go
Thank
Hawks.
you, Hawks. Absolutely. Just about hit the 2-hour mark. So let's wrap this thing up, folks. Iowa defeating Maryland 93-85 out in College Park behind a big night for Caitlin Clark, who was our RTI Threads player of the game. 38 points, 12 assists, and 6 rebounds for Caitlin. maybe some controversy there because Molly Davis had a great night as well. 7 of 11 from the field, 17 points. She's so efficient. Her field goal numbers, her percentages remind me of somebody you'd see playing the 5, who's scoring around the rim, and she's not scoring around the rim. It's just interesting how she plays. Hannah Stolke added 9 points, 8 rebounds, and Sydney Falter with an impressive game, 5 points, 6 rebounds. She doesn't blow you away as it relates to the box score, but her plus 16 was by far the best plus minus on the team, if you want to read into the plus minus stat. So
did you
very
say
good
Kate?
stuff. Say that again?
Did you say Kate stat?
No.
Because didn't she have a double-double?
No, we didn't say she did have a double-double. 15
Yeah,
points.
you better give Kate, my girl, her props now.
She had a negative assist to turnover ratio, though. You knew I was going to bring that up. You knew I was going to bring that up. 4 assists, 5 turnovers, but she
struggled. A lot of them was in the first quarter. Yes.
She did have 15 and 10. Did
Good
not
for her.
make a 3, but she made some big plays in the second, especially around the rim. She got to get that 3-point shot going again. Her
She
3-point
does. Yeah,
shot
I
is gonna be
agree.
important going down the stretch this year as well. A reminder to everybody that the women are back on the court on Thursday. This following Thursday, taking on Penn State. They'll be back in Iowa City for the National Girls and Women's in Sports Celebration game, apparently. So I did not. I guess I hadn't heard of that before. Did they have that when you were playing, Kachine?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll have to
I just
look
went to a women in sports event here in Charlotte, so clearly it's a thing.
Absolutely, it is a thing. And, of course, post-game coverage after that game. Also, the men are back in action. See, when are the men back in action? I should know this. This is me being very disorganized. The men play on, let's see, Sunday. That's no, I'm sorry. They play at Penn State. Am I looking at the right schedule here? Yes, the men play at Penn State on the same night that the women play Penn State. Okay, got that. So the women play Penn State at home. The men play them on the road on Thursday night. The men's game is at 6 p.m. Central Time on Thursday. The women's game is at 8 p.m. So we'll probably do double post-game, like a joint post-game again that evening. It'll be later in the evening. And Carrie wants to know if RTI Threads can make a Kachine shirt. I'll
yes!
Message on. I think people are
yes,
excited.
Get me an RTI shirt. Hey.
Before we head out for the evening, let's give our sponsor, Iowa Smokehouse, one more plug for their help to the show. Tasting is believing with their jerky, their meat sticks. Everything is great. It all tastes amazing. Tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse down in Albia. Put in your order today. You'll get 15% off your order with the code Hawkeyes and free shipping on every $50 order, courtesy of Iowa Smokehouse. All right, Kachine, it's been a pleasure as always. Always fun. I love the energy you bring to this show and the expertise. And you're not done. We're going to get you back again. So, again, thank you for what you're doing. Hey, we're at, let's see, 12:15 Charlotte time, and you're still awake. So kudos to you. Yeah, the women moved to, what are they now? 10-1,
3, 10-1.
10-1 in the conference. So
21-2, 10-1. There we go.
Again, my numbers are not good. 21-2, and 10-1 in the conference. They'll try to make it 11-1 Thursday night at home against the Nittany Lions. Anything I missed, Kachine, before we head out?
No, I think we're good. We're all covered.
All right, folks. For
Thanks, guys.
Kachine Alexander, I'm Corey Braddock from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Have a great night. We will talk to you soon.